Our focus here in lesson 4.3 is on adding and subtracting rational expressions. And unlike multiplying and dividing, adding and subtracting is a little trickier in that you can only do so if you have common denominators. So let's start with some basics. If I wanted to add the fraction 1/2 to the fraction 1/3, I'd have to look at my denominators and identify what is the smallest number that both 2 and 3 divide evenly into. And clearly that is the number 6. So to get 6 on the bottom of my first fraction, I would have to multiply 2 by 3. Well, I have to also multiply the top by that same number, because by multiplying by 3/3, it's like I'm multiplying by 1, and that doesn't change the value of my fraction, which is good. To get a 6 on the bottom of my second fraction, I'd have to multiply the 3 by 2. So again, I need to multiply the top by 2 as well. Now when I do that, on the top of the first fraction, I get 3, so I have 3/6. And on the top of the second fraction, I get 2, so I have 2/6. Now the hard part's over. All I need to do is add those numerators, 3 and 2 add up to 5, and put them over my common denominator. So my answer here would be 5/6. So let's try this again. This one I have some addition and some subtraction, but regardless, I need to have common denominators. So again, my denominators are 5, 6, and 15. I ask myself, what is the smallest number that 5, 6, and 15 divide evenly into? Well, it can't be any smaller than the biggest number. So the biggest denominator is 15, but 6 doesn't divide into 15. So what I like to do is just take that biggest denominator and times it by 2. 15 times 2 is 30, and then ask, do 5 and 6 divide into 30? And they do. So to get 30 on the bottom of my first fraction, I have to multiply by 6 on top and bottom. To get 30 on the bottom of my second fraction, I have to multiply by 5. And to get 30 on the bottom of my third fraction, I have to multiply top and bottom by 2. So what I get is 6 times 3, or 18, over 30, plus 1 times 5, or 5, over 30, minus 13 times 2, or 26, over 30. I can write those as 3 separate fractions, like I did in the previous problem where I wrote them as 2 separate fractions, or I can write them as one individual fraction now that the denominator is a common denominator. 18 plus 5 is 23, and 23 minus 26 is -3. So I get -3 over 30. But I'm not done here, because I can tell that that fraction can be simplified. Both top and bottom are divisible by 3. So if I divide by 3, on top I get 1. If I divide by 3, on bottom I get 10. So my final answer would be -1 over 10.